Arizona loses to Southern 63-57. Hey everybody, it's Ben the Coin Geek. Thanks for being here today for a wrap up on the U of A women's basketball game against Southern. Southern had one win coming into this game, but then when you looked at their schedule, all of their losses had been to top 25 teams, a number of them in the top 15. And in college women's basketball, the top 15 teams are usually pretty much head and shoulders, I think, above everybody else as far as like they're most likely going to win and win big when they play teams that aren't in the top 25. That's just my opinion. This game was an interesting game to watch. There were some things that stood out right away. This team last year won their conference. They went to the tournament in the postseason. They're a talented team with a number of junior and senior guards especially. They run 5'10 to 6'1 across the guard line. Very athletic, very quick. They came out very aggressive, and we reacted not so great. I think our youthfulness showed a little bit, and also just the fact that they have a lot more team experience together, I think, showed a little bit. But there's positives that come out of that too. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Pretty much, it started out kind of slow. We didn't score much. They didn't score much, and then all of a sudden, near the end of the first quarter, it was 15-11. At the end of the first quarter, we had 9 turnovers, and this was probably the story of the game. But we were at 11 points from that like 1.5 minute mark in the first quarter to like the 3.5 minute mark in the second quarter. Like we just did not score. And that was mostly because Cornfield was out. So there's the Cornfield effect. She got 2 quick fouls. Coach sat her for a long time, and our offense just kind of went a little stagnant. And so it's hard not having her on the court because it feels like with her on the court, we're just more productive in general. The youthfulness, as I was talking about before, there's lots of things that happen in this game. Coach spoke afterwards about how there's a lot of things that we reverted to. And so, but when you try to correct things from basketball players that have been doing something the same way for 5 or 10 years, they're going to revert back in game situation, a high pressure situation, to like the mentality or doing what they used to do. And we saw some youthfulness where our forwards were getting double teamed at the post and they just kept getting squashed, and weren't necessarily looking for a kick out or a backdoor cut. And that's, experience and youthfulness. And also our guards, once again, we had some over penetration issues where really the ball needs to be kicked out to someone again when you're going 1-on-2. Specifically at the very end of the game, there was a drive where we were down by 4 with like a minute and a half left, and we had kind of like a fast break situation, and someone drove with the ball with 2 defenders, and Purdue was wide open in the corner, and that ball should have gone to Purdue. Instead, we got I think blocked out of bounds, no call. The turnovers were bad. We ended up with 24 turnovers. The only thing that's positive about that is we actually forced 19 turnovers, and a lot of that was really forced. The hard part watching our 24 turnovers was we forced a lot of those on ourselves. There were some lazy passes, and we were just like throw the ball and boom, they're there. Including Cornfield, who had 9 turnovers, but this team did something that no one else has done yet, which is they had definitely had some smart guard play. They saw the future too, right? Like, so someone who passes well sees the future. They had at least one guard that got her interrupted several passes that I think Cornfield normally would make successfully. So it was a really sloppy game from that perspective to only lose by 6 to a team that when you have 24 turnovers, not the end of the world here. I think we're still on pace for something like an 8-3 kind of non-conference season. It'll be interesting to see kind of how the team reacts and rebounds from this. Speaking of rebounds, I think another bright spot was Nora Francois. Once again, I really like having her on the court. She's played most of her career at smaller schools, and I think that she just hasn't had the coaching that some of the other kids may have had. I really like her court vision. She came in, she had, let me see if I can get this up here right. She had 11 rebounds and 8 points. and that was in 18 minutes of play, and very, very effective. And she had 4 assists. She right behind Cornfield with 6 assists. That accounted for 10 of our 12 assists, which was also no good. We had no assists recorded in the fourth quarter, but a little bit of a pass on that fourth quarter because we had some steals at half court that we threw the ball ahead. And once you take 2 dribbles, it's technically not an assist anymore, but we actually saw some pretty good ball movement in the fourth quarter. Coach continues to play small, if you will. One of the things we had a hard time on defense was handling their pick and roll. They were very effective getting their big in a position. So pick and roll is where players all kind of come together. Your other offensive player has to stand still, otherwise it's a moving screen. So those mysterious calls that were on us in the first quarter, those are moving screens. And then as it's designed, that's the pick, then the big man rolls, and hopefully you have a guard that can get them the ball. They should be open. And they were very effective against our defense. We had a hard time with it because oftentimes we're only running with like a 6'2"-ish forward, and it's not always as effective. I would like to see, once again, a Chol play. She just played less than a minute in the first half, at the end of the first quarter or the end of the second quarter. I don't remember which. It's, coach keeps saying that there's matchup stuff, but like we're going to see teams like this in the Big 12. And I just think that if our personnel can't stop a pick and roll, then you may as well put the 6'7" girl in and just see. I mean, you may as well try, I think. But then again, also in general, there's the dichotomy of saying, well, this season is just a building season, and yet the games are being coached to win, which is how coach knows how to coach, and I understand that. But no one should be playing 40 minutes, in my opinion. I mean, these other kids should be getting some minutes in there, some experience to see what it's like, how they can do. Instead of running with 2 bigs, or the 4 position, which is usually another forward, has been mostly played by number 8, MJ. And I think it would be really good to see Cameron Kitchen play that role instead. Not instead, but also split some more time. I think it gives us a little bit more length and athleticism. She got 14 minutes. She was 1 for 2. She's very selective with her shot. She had a couple of rebounds. Danielle Welch had 13 minutes, 0 for 3 with a rebound. So we were not stuffing the stat sheet. Although we did end up out rebounding them, mostly because I think almost single-handedly because of Nora Francois coming in and getting after the ball. She did a real nice job. Samaya Sangapong had 4 rebounds. She was our next highest in 25 minutes. She also had 10 points on 2 of 4 from the field. Statistically looking pretty good there. They had her at 2 turnovers and 3 steals. She did create a lot of chaos for the other team as far as getting some of those turnovers to go. So what's next here? First of all, let's look at the Big 12 in general standings for those of you who are new to the Big 12 because you came from the Pac-12. The Big 12 unnecessarily has 16 teams in it. That's how Big 12 is. And you've got 5 teams ranked in the top 25. Texas Tech, who is undefeated at 10-0, is not ranked, and they've looked very good. Iowa State is number 10. That's where Jada Williams transferred to. They have a gal named Audrey Cooks who's insanely talented, big girl in the post, and she's doing weird stuff like scoring 45 points and getting more points than minutes. It's going to be crazy watching her. They're 9-0. TCU, in the meanwhile, is ranked ahead of them. They're 9-0, but they're ranked 8th. For those of you who don't know the story there, Maddie Connor transferred there a couple years ago. She graduated last year. He's the coach there, was the assistant coach at Oregon State, I believe, and he's been there for 3 or 4 years now, and they've been pretty prosperous under him. Basham, the 6'6" girl from ASU, transferred there this year. ASU's 8-0, which was a surprise. Also, I don't know how good they are, but they've got that coaching upgrade. Oklahoma State's number 24 in the country at 9-1. BYU's 8-1. Baylor is number 14 in the country at 8-1. We are 6-1. Kansas is 7-2. West Virginia at 6-2 is ranked 25 in the country. Then you've got Colorado at 6-3, Central Florida at 6-3, Houston at 5-3, Utah at 5-3, Kansas State at 5-5, and Cincinnati at 4-5. So that's kind of what it looks like right now as far as the overall standings go. We play four more non-conference games. University of New Mexico on the 7th, Eastern Kentucky on the 10th, Chicago State on the 15th, and then Bellarmine on the 18th. And then December 22nd, Utah. That is our opening conference game, Monday the 22nd. And, these teams coming ahead, we'll see New Mexico is 6-3. They beat NAU. I'm just trying to see if there's anything here that's comparable. That Texas Tech team they lost to. Chicago, who we haven't played yet, they beat by 23. So New Mexico is going to be, I think, a tough out for us. Out of the next 4 games, that's probably the toughest. Then on to Eastern Kentucky, who is 7-1. They are, I think, going to be top of their conference. They're one of these mid-major teams that's, I don't know that they're going to be as good as Southern, but their loss on the year is to a Southern Indiana University at, I think that's Evansville, SIUE. But they've got wins over Evansville, Transylvania, which apparently I did not say blah blah blah. North Dakota, Midway, Morehead State, Army. They haven't played anybody yet, so to speak. Chicago they are a 1-win team with a win over Winthrop, and their losses include they've had to play that New Mexico team they lost by almost 32. Pitt, Northern Illinois, Western Illinois, Illinois State. They've lost to everybody in Illinois. So if we move to Illinois, we can win this game. And they lost to Cleveland State. So they're not quite as impressive so far. And then Bellarmine, who didn't know was Division I, actually has a win over Spalding and Wright State. And then losses to Miami of Ohio, Morehead State, Ohio State, right? Bradley, Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Illinois, Louisville by like 60 points, but Louisville's pretty good, and an Illinois team by 50. So that's kind of the lay of the land looking to the rest of the non-conference schedule. Maybe after the non-conference schedule, we'll do some type of post-non-conference schedule wrap-up, talk about the progress of the team in general. But anyways, get out there and support these kids. They're playing hard for each other and for the fans. One comment from the game, my buddy who came with me, he said, this should be a pretty easy place to recruit to. He's originally from Chicago, and he's just like, you show up to a women's basketball game and there's 3,000 fans. And they got into it, so hats off to the fans. Hats off to you guys that were there. There was a lot of very loud cheering, which was good. And it's good to have support. The kids need it. So, all right, guys. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment, and we will catch you next time.